Buenas tardes. I'm in Cusco at over 11,000 feet in the Peruvian Andes, and this is going to be my starting point for a number of adventures. First off, I'm going to hit the Inca Trail and hike my way to Machu Picchu. Then I'm going to head down to the jungle, down into the rainforest in the Amazon basin, and then up to Rainbow Mountain at over 5,000 meters above sea level, and finally over to Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable body of water in the world. So join me for some fun. For the first part of the trip, I was travelling as part of a group with a travel company called Intrepid Travel. On the way to the Inca Trail, they took us to visit a local community where we got to experience a little bit of village life, food and culture, as well as to see the community's alpacas getting a little frisky. We then headed into the Sacred Valley, following the Urubamba River into the town of Ollanta Tambo, where we found ourselves in the midst of a political rally ahead of the country's forthcoming elections. The town is the last major settlement before the start of the Inca Trail. I'm on the Inca Trail, about an hour or so away from Machu Picchu, and this is the fourth day of being on the trail. And I've been on the trail since Monday morning, and here's a few pictures of the last few days. Our guide Josep led us across a suspension bridge over the Urubamba River to start our 26-mile trek to Machu Picchu. The river takes its own course to the base of the mountain ridge on which Machu Picchu sits. However, our route would only follow the river for a short time, slowly climbing along the hillside opposite to the route taken by the railway, which conveys the majority of the visitors to the UNESCO World Heritage Site. The trail soon turned away from the Urubamba, following a side valley through a number of tiny villages. Most of the Inca Trail is one way, however this section is also the primary means of access for the locals, so we encountered people, horses and the occasional motorbike heading the other way. The second day was mostly about going up. We started from our campsite in the valley at around 9,400 feet and soon turned away from the valley and its villages to the isolation of the steep trail passing through the cloud forest and alpine tundra up to Dead Woman's Pass at nearly 14,000 feet. From here we headed down into the cloud that was blowing over the pass to descend to our camp for the night, itself at nearly 12,000 feet, giving us a pretty chilly night under canvas. If day 2 was all about climbing, then day 3 was all about the huge descent via the mostly original Inca steps. On the way we encountered a couple of llamas which quickly turned frisky while being photographed by a growing crowd. After the 3,000 feet descent, we came back alongside and far above the Urubamba River and were treated to a fantastic view of the valley and the glaciers behind. From there it was a short walk to our final camp, pausing briefly for a group of llama to pass. We had a pre-dawn start on the final morning of the trek, following the trail alongside almost vertical drop-offs, reaching the sun gate above Machu Picchu at 7 o'clock in the morning. The view of Machu Picchu is reserved for the very end of the trail, having rounded a final corner and passing through the sun gate. We were lucky with the weather, seeing the 15th century Inca citadel in beautiful sunshine. After a short hike down to the site itself, our trail guide turned into tour guide and showed us around the citadel, taking in the main square, this Inca ritual stone known as an Intihuatana, which is positioned such that the sun is directly overhead on the equinoxes, leaving no shadow, and the extensive terraces used for agriculture. After returning to Cuzco, I continued with the group to the rainforest, taking the short flight down from the high Andes to the jungle city of Puerto Maldonado, from where we continued our journey by motor canoe, travelling 3 hours up the Tambopata River, which eventually flows into the Amazon River. Along the way, we saw a variety of wildlife, including this capybara, the largest rodent in the world. Good morning, I'm here at the Explorers Inn Lodge in Peru in the Amazon Basin, and I'm here for the next 2 days to experience some jungle life and hopefully see some interesting wildlife. Early the next morning, we took a short trip further up the river, followed by a short hike to reach an oxbow lake with its huge population of butterflies and other fauna. Fernando, our jungle guide and his boat captain, took our makeshift catamaran, which was really just 2 canoes with wooden planks and seats nailed to them, out onto the lake. As well as seeing plenty of birds and butterflies, our aim was to find a group of giant river otters known to live in the area. Fernando's local knowledge and sharp eyes delivered, and we eventually found a group of these impressive mammals. This species can grow up to 1.7 metres long and mostly feeds on fish, although they'll eat pretty much anything, even small caiman. After returning to the lodge for lunch, we were lucky to see a number of monkeys in the trees around the lodge, including this troop of red howler monkeys, demonstrating their nimbleness and use of their prehensile tails for balance and support. In the evening, after a sunset visit to a watchtower above the canopy, we headed back onto the river to search for caiman, a relation to the alligators, who emerge onto the riverbanks after dark. With only our boat's searchlight, Fernando was able to find a number of examples. Having said goodbye to my tour group, I got up early to join a day tour to Rainbow Mountain. After a long minibus ride up a rough mountain track, we arrived in amongst the mountains and glaciers at the Ausangate mountain region. The hike up to the viewpoint for the Rainbow Mountain was relatively short, but challenging with the thin air at 16,000 feet, but it was certainly worth the early start, rough road and rarefied air to see this incredible view. Rainbow Mountain is properly known as Vinacunca, and was formed as layered sedimentary rocks were tilted almost vertically by tectonic forces, exposing the mineral-rich strata to weathering and erosion. I've previously referred to this as Photoshop Mountain because of the way that many of the tourist brochures overly saturate the colours, make it look very unnatural and almost comical. But now I'm actually up here, the colours aren't quite as comical as the brochures, but certainly the effect, particularly on a sunny day like this, is absolutely stunning. Just a few minutes hike from here is Red Valley, a site that anywhere else would be the primary attraction, but here takes second place. Although Rainbow Mountain is the reason most people come here, the entire area is an artist's palette of colour. On the way down, seeing the crowds headed up made me glad of the early start. After an overnight coach ride to the city of Puno, I joined a boat tour to the floating islands of the Uros people on Lake Titicaca. This ancient people make their islands from totora reeds, using the dense roots for buoyancy with multiple layers of reeds layered on top, as demonstrated here by the head of this particular island. Although the people still live in the traditional way, many families have embraced tourism and for a fee, welcome visitors to their island. Here at Puno, on the shore of Lake Titicaca, I end my Peru adventure. I started by hiking the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. I then went to the rainforest and saw monkeys, tarantulas and many other wildlife. I then saw the wonderful colours of Rainbow Mountain at over 16,000 feet. And then finally, I just got back from a cruise on Lake Titicaca where I got to see the floating islands of the Uros people. It's been a wonderful trip, the weather's been fantastic, I've met some wonderful people and I can certainly recommend a visit to Peru.